Brought some different shoes with me today. Got these little bouncier Nikes. I don't know how well these are gonna really work. See how stiff these are. So you got that rebound in there. Has a carbon fiber foot plate in there, and so when you land this way, it's supposed to kind of rocket you forward, and actually feels like you're working less. So this was a shoe that was recommended to me by Ryan Hall. He has a U.S. record in the marathon, I believe, and I think in the half marathon. I don't know if he still has those records, but I asked him point blank. He said, hey, you're a bigger guy, and it's gonna be treacherous out there for you, so he told me to get these. These helped me a lot in the beginning, especially when I was doing my kind of low and slow training and just getting adapted to running. This was really helpful. And the main thing with these is you're gonna be able to get some mileage in. You're gonna be able to get some time on your feet while staying injury free because of the amount of cushion. So you can run almost whatever way you want in these things, which is probably not great, and you should address your form. But a lot of times people start out with shitty form because they haven't been running in a long time. People don't really warm up the upper body much at all when they run. And I just was watching a video from our buddy Kelly Starrett, and he was saying, hey, warm up that upper body. So we got this winding rope. I got this off of Stronger Human, Nsima Inyang's website. I would say that this thing's about 60 pounds. No, it's like maybe like 2. There's all different types of weights and thicknesses and stuff. Feel the blood get in there right away. And I've mentioned this many times in many other videos before when we've talked about lifting. One of the best ways to warm yourself up is through your upper body. You start working out in your garage gym in Minnesota and it's cold as shit in there. In the wintertime, remember what I said, warm up your entire body through your upper body. It's the easiest way to get it done. Do a set of lat pull downs. A few sets of lat pull downs, short rest interval, go over and do some lateral raises. Maybe grab one of these ropes like this and twirl it around. It will increase your heart rate is what it's doing. And that's why it's making your whole body warm like that. You can do the same thing through the legs, but it's just harder because like your body is stiff. So those of you that are in your 40s, 50s, 60s, warm yourself up through the upper body, and then you can start getting into doing some stuff for the spine. Then you can start doing stuff for the legs, start to move around. One thing I love about the rope is there's really, you know, like with lifting, if I'm teaching you to deadlift and you're trying to deadlift, you know, pretty heavy weight, over 70%, then I think it's easy to get into a discussion of like, there's kind of a wrong and right way of doing this. When it comes to something like this, which is unloaded, there's not that much weight, not that much craziness going on. There's not a lot of wrong ways of doing this in my opinion. But I do like to see the shoulders go here and here, back and forth a lot. So in the beginning, you're gonna move the rope with your hands a lot. See, I'm moving the rope with my hands. So if I'm standing square to you, I'm just kind of like moving it with my hands so that it doesn't hit my body. But I want to move it with my spine and keep my hands closer to the center. Keep my hand within the width of my shoulders rather than out of the width of my shoulders or forward, right? Not that, again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I'm not moving my spine as much. And so not only are we getting these kind of diagonal patterns, but you also want to kind of shove the shoulder forward. Think about like a wrestler, you know, collegiate wrestlers, their shoulders a little forward. That's what you want to try to do. You want to try to flare out the lats a little bit. And none of it will make sense until you do this. But when you do this, you'll feel it. And it feels like more movement. It feels like you're wringing out your body. Go up, swing like this. Just mixing it up, getting the body warmed up. This shaker cup, by the way, this thing is absolutely amazing. Put a lot of ice in here, and it also has It has this like ice thingy so the ice doesn't come flying and hit you in the face. It's got that little shaker thingy on there. But I'm carrying this thing around with me 24/7. Got some of my hydration product in there. Delicious. Just get like a cheap little jog in. Just when you're, you know, if you're a little intimidated by running, just remember what I said, just start out as slow as you can. This guy over here has been at it probably for a half hour. He's just kind of shuffling. And you'd be surprised at the pace that you could actually have with shuffling. Like, he's probably not running as slow as you might think. He might be doing like 11-minute mile paces or something, maybe 12. But to do that for long distances is actually kind of challenging. One of the guests that we had come in recently, he was saying one of the keys to like being explosive, being an explosive and strong athlete is to like suck your body to the ground. And we've had other coaches and other people come in and say some of the best athletes in the world play with low shins. Then yesterday I saw a video where someone was sprinting and they were working on their speed and they were trying to do like, you know, this staying upright and driving the knees and this real clean form, which looked nice, but they weren't really moving anywhere. And the guy said, so I squatted down and then sprinted, and it felt way different. And it was way faster time that he ended up getting. And so that's something I want to start to work on is, and some of you may disagree with some of that, but I'm still just learning, so I'm trying all different kinds of stuff. But it makes a lot of sense. You think about someone pushing off the beginning, you know, and they're coming out of the blocks and they're in their acceleration phase. They're pretty low, right? And obviously they stand up a lot higher as they go. You think if Usain Bolt, he gets, you know, real tall. But I just thought it was interesting. So I'll give some of that a shot today. So now we already did little bits of warming up. We checking in, diagnostic on the feet and calves. Everything feels pretty good. Quads feel good, hammies feel good. So now we can just push a little bit, go a little faster. Oh, the body can take that. Not a big deal. There we go. Now we're getting warm. As I get more used to this, which I haven't done many of these style of workouts, but my warm up and all different kinds of things will be built up quite a bit. So I'm already pretty good out of breath just from that, which wasn't a lot of work, you know. I like to just keep moving too, like some people may stop and kind of rest. I like to kind of have an active, a bit more of an active rest. So I'll just do a couple drills, which I really need to get on the drills because I think the drills will help a lot in the long run. But for today, I'll just do a couple, just so we got something. I got to look a little bit more. Fred Duncan, coach that came in a few weeks back, he gave me some good movements to try. So I need to incorporate some of that. Let's do some high knees. I think track athletes end up, so springy and bouncy. They do so many reps, millions of reps over years and years of not just the sprints, but all the drills that accompany the sprints. Do another set of the high knees again. Try some of those kind of straight leg. Gonna ditch the hoodie. Weighted shirt on. Weighs about 2 pounds. Not much, right? I mean, what's a sweatshirt weigh? Or a hoodie weigh? Or your jacket? But it's a little extra weight, right? I need to remind myself of a lot of stuff when I'm running. I think when I was lifting, doing the heavy squats and benches, it's usually like one cue that I had in my head. For squats, it was don't die. And then the other cue, like for bench press, interestingly enough, the cue was to force my knees out. Because forcing my knees out allowed me to drive force through the ground and put myself in this declined bench position. My shoulders are real stable on the bench. For deadlift, it was always almost like whatever, because it's the end of the meet, so there wasn't a whole lot of cues going on. Out of the 3 lifts, I had like 2 cues, and one of them was what don't die. No matter what you're training for or what you're doing, you're always looking for positive inputs with the least amount of negative side effects. Positive inputs with the least amount of negative side effects. You might think you're tough or you're cool by going to 2 jiu-jitsu classes in a row, but you gotta think about it a little bit more. Maybe coming back tomorrow is a better answer, or taking the weekend off and coming back on Monday and having a better week, having higher quality. People are saying, hey, why don't you hire a sprinting coach and this and that? Well, a couple reasons. Like, I'm enjoying this is fun, but I don't want to make it that serious, And I'm not doing this for anybody else other than myself. But also, there's not one thing a sprinting coach can tell me that's going to really improve much. You might think that's crazy or wild, but it's true. I'm in the beginning phases. And yes, I could learn from somebody. And yes, there are people I learn from. And I'm already communicating behind the scenes with all kinds of people. But those aren't the people that go on my IG and talk trash. Those people are understanding that I'm new. It's not like, oh my God, your form's way off. They're just like, oh my God, he's so new. He's so green. For decades upon decades, I don't think you guys understand how hard this stuff is for me. Decades upon decades, I had to keep my mouth shut when you sent me shitty video after shitty video of your weak ass fucking lifts. Check out my 500-pound squat. What do you think of this? Check out my 405 bench. It's like, bitch, give me some numbers I can actually deal with. Rather than these tiny ass. No, I never said that to you guys. Never did that to you guys, right? Second I try something new, it's a little different for me. You're in that comment section, fucking jerking off and saying mean shit to me. It's all part of the game, right? If I'm gonna film it and put it out there, I guess you got the right to give it whatever negativity that you want, right? I'm cool with it. I'll take the bullets. I like them. They end up being good energy in the long run. But also, just realize a lot of the people that you're checking out, you're watching someone do this or someone do that, before you cut them down, just kind of recognize sometimes that someone's new at something. They're just new at something. If you're new at something, you can't possibly know all there is to know. And even if you did, even if you knew a lot, you wouldn't be able to apply it. So my point is that with what I've been doing with running, it's a very slow evolution. This is all gonna take a really long time. And the amount of sprints I've done As an adult, you know, you're looking at like workout number 6 or 7 with some type of sprint work. So it doesn't get any newer or more raw than this. This is the beginning phases. Had about a 4-minute mile pace going there for a little bit. When I stopped it, I said the pace for the whatever the hell distance I just ran, I said it was like 5:30 or something like that. So I think without trying, I think by doing something running like this, I think I'll end up with a good 7-minute mile at some point. I haven't really tested my mile speed or pace yet. I've done an 8-minute mile. The next goal is 7. No real rush to get any faster than that. That'd be cool. I would like to do a 400 in under 60 seconds. But I found that we put time frames and time domains on stuff is when you really sabotage yourself. So I don't have a time frame for it other than like, it'd be great if I did it before my 50th birthday. And this year, on December 10th, I turned 48. So give yourself time with shit, you know? Maybe you want to make 100K, 150, 200, 300, a million. Those are all great goals, but just don't put a time domain on it. And then also think about what are the habits, what are the systems you're going to put in place that are going to really help get you there. So maybe if I was doing more of a conditioning style workout, maybe I would do it with incomplete rest. But because I'm trying to go a little faster, I'm trying to do it with as much rest as needed to be able to have decent force output. I just finished a workout with 2 400s. I saw some guys working out here the other day, some track athletes. They were doing some 400s. It looked like they were going pretty fast, but it also looked really smooth. So I asked them a little bit about their workout, and they said they were training at about 70%. So many of the best athletes, they train at these lower percentages a lot. They also have the ability and the capacity to go at a much more intense pace also, right? So we always want to have that ability, but how often you do it matters a lot. Lactic acid building up. .716 pace. Not bad for a chubster like me. So I did 4 200s, really only like one that was at a pretty good intensity, which is about perfect. I did 1 400 and that felt good. I'll just see how I feel as I come back around. I feel like the tank is pretty drained. I feel like I had sort of emptied out some pretty good energy reserve. So I think my best bet is to probably discontinue the workout, just get ready for another great workout later in the week. So if you think about it, like if you push to a good capacity, your intensity, your volume, all these things, they're at 90%. But again, because I'm newer, maybe it's skimming a little too much off the top for me, right? Even though I was tremendously low amount of work, but it might peel back what I'm able to do. Today is Thursday. It might peel back my workout on Sunday. Rather than having today's workout knock 20% off of the workout I do 3-4 days from now, you discontinue it, and I'll be able to get a much better percentage. Not only will I not have the negative effects of this workout, but I potentially could have a better workout on top of that. And so that's something that I felt that I did a good job of with powerlifting. I learned how stuff felt. And I could feel stuff here, but I don't know what these feelings are yet. I don't know what they mean. So when I cried about my lactic acid, it felt like I had to put more effort into going the same speed. And I need to learn those sensations, those feels, so I can tweak stuff just the right way. So I think the best benefit here would be not to really run fast, but I did open my mouth and say I was going to do 2 400s, so I will do another 400. Just take her easy, just a cruising set. Feeling amazing, feels so good to be able to come out here and do some of this stuff, capture that sunlight too, get the weather, get in the community. There's a lot of people out here running. Grateful that my body's able to do all this shit after all the years of abuse, all the years of destroying myself with lifting. But I really hope that a lot of you, I run into so many people that say, hey man, I got into running because of you, which is pretty crazy to me. I feel like it's just like a little bit more of a natural evolution for me. And then I'm grateful that so many of you kind of come along the journey with me. Much like lifting, I don't think that running is necessarily the answer. In fact, Hunter McIntyre, High Rocks champion, he actually said something amazing on his Instagram the other day. He said, there's not too many things that a hill can't fix when it comes to fitness. I agree with that so much because you can walk up the hill, you can run up the hill. So I think walking, some running, I think just like, it doesn't have to be running. It doesn't have to be running on a track, but it could be your version of running. Maybe your version of running is that you go on a bike. Maybe your version of running is you use the elliptical, but some sort of cyclical action, right? To wring out the stresses, the anxieties, all the different stuff that's going on in our bodies day in and day out. I think it's really critical and important. Lifting does a lot of cool, interesting stuff. But if you think about it, if you think about lifting, it's actually really interesting because if you stop lifting for around 2 weeks, you can scientifically test and see that you'll start to atrophy a little bit. Start to think about that in common sense terms, like what does that mean? Well, it means that everyone that lifts, whether you take juice or not, no one's natty because the actual lifting of weights is not natty. It's not a very natural thing for us to spend all this time to hypertrophy our muscles with time under tension and set after set after set. I think that's really an interesting point because, you know, someone that grows up on a farm or someone just has activity in general, they're going to be able to probably hold on to their muscle mass easier and in different ways just from doing activities. And that's something that I want to make sure I'm communicating out to you guys. Running can be great, but running is something that for many of us, maybe we're not always going to be consistent with it. For those that love running, consistency is not going to be an issue, right? But for those of us that don't love it, guy's calves are jacked and he's walking on his toes. He's like training his calves. But see, that's part of my point is like, you'll see people that walk on their toes and they have huge calves. It's like, why? It's like, well, that's an accumulation, right? It's an accumulation of something they've done for a really long time. So what are the habits and what are the things that you can do that you can manage? Lifting is great because, yeah, like taking 2 weeks off of lifting, it's like anyone that loves lifting, who really does that? Most people that love lifting, they're not going to really take that much time off. They might be a little infrequent with their schedule. They might miss some workouts here and there, but 2 weeks is kind of a long time for someone to stop. So I've just been thinking about these things a little differently more recently and just trying to think about like what can be incorporated into your day. What are things that are going to be like easy for you to do and also easy for you to recover from, but not only easy to recover from, but easy to even get up for, even easy to get psyched up for. Because if I have a really intense workout planned, the odds of me wanting to take pre-workout for that workout, the odds of me having a little anxiety around that workout are probably pretty high. which there's nothing wrong with having standards for yourself. There's nothing wrong with wanting to hit these certain numbers and having some expectations for ourselves. But more often than not, what I've found with expectations is they oftentimes lead you to being very disappointed. So if you're telling yourself, you know, starting on Monday, I'm going no carbs, and then you don't do it, how disappointed in yourself are you? If you tell yourself, you know, next week I'm going to start my marathon training, and you're not really a runner, it's like maybe we should just peel everything back a bunch. And maybe we should say, hey, I got a goal to walk, jog a 5K. People don't want to start low enough. There's a quote that I really love, and it says, man will never truly find God because he's not willing to look low enough. If you believe in God, you believe in Jesus. Jesus was a carpenter. He was like a servant, right? You're going to have to figure out ways to get on the ground and fucking scrub the floors for yourself. You're going to have to figure out, how do I start at ground zero? How do I start at the base level? I want to get my lats bigger. I want to get better at pull-ups. Well, for a lot of people, you can't just start on the pull-up bar, especially if you're 300 pounds. Maybe you're 300 pounds and maybe you hang from a pull-up bar, but then you're also doing lat pull-downs. You're doing seated rows. You're doing stretches for your lats. You're willing to look low enough and search low enough and find the things that are more scalable that you can do that might be embarrassing to do. It's embarrassing to do stuff sometimes. I've had people show me stuff. They're like, hey, here's how you do this, here's how you fucking like walk on your hands, you know? And then I'm like, well, I have no clue on how to do that, so they got to scale it back. Here, try these, handstand push-ups against the wall. I was like, I can't do those. They're like, here, hold these dumbbells and press them over your head. It doesn't feel good to be like left behind on some of these things, but when you're just starting out, you have no choice. You got to start low and slow and find the things that are going to be manageable for you to do. I want to show you guys something really cool here. All right, I got something to show you guys. I'm super pumped and super excited about. And it's been a long time coming. It's taken me a little while to develop, a couple of months. Actually, probably more like almost 2 years. It might look funky. It might look different than what you're used to seeing from other people, but I can motherfucking sprint. I can now run as fast as I fucking want, and it feels amazing. It feels absolutely incredible. Well, maybe not as fast as I want, because I'd love to run like 30 miles an hour, but you get the point. That feels so good to train for something, to work for something. And yes, I want to get faster. Of course, I want to get smoother. I want to have better rhythm. I want to have better mobility. But I'm working on all of it. Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never a strength. Catch you guys later.